The morning sun cast long shadows across the moving truck as two teenage brothers helped their parents unpack boxes in the driveway of their new home. The older brother, Dion, wiped sweat from his forehead and looked around at the unfamiliar neighborhood with its neat lawns and quiet streets. "What do you think?" asked his younger brother, Andre, setting down a heavy box labeled kitchen. Dion shrugged. "Different from the city, that's for sure." Their father, a tall man with a military posture even in civilian clothes, emerged from the house. "Boys, once we're done with the heavy lifting, why don't you explore a bit? School starts Monday, and it might help to know your way around." The brothers had been training in Taekwondo since they were small. Their father, who served 3 tours overseas, had always emphasized the importance of self-defense. "The world isn't always kind," he would tell them during drives to the dojo, "but real strength means knowing when not to fight." By evening, the family sat around their new dining table, eating takeout pizza and talking about the fresh start ahead of them. Their mother, a nurse who had transferred to the local hospital, seemed excited about the good school district and safer streets. "I heard they have a great track program," she said, looking at Dion. "And debate club for you," she added, nudging Andre. That night the brothers stayed up late, voices hushed as they shared their hopes and concerns about the move. "You think it'll be different here?" Andre asked, staring at the ceiling. Dion was quiet for a moment. "Maybe. Dad says this town has good opportunities, but new places mean new rules to figure out." Monday arrived with the nervous energy that accompanies all first days. Their mother took photos on the front porch, fussing over their clothes while their father gave them each a firm handshake. "Remember who you are," he said simply. The high school was a sprawling brick building with banners announcing upcoming football games and academic achievements. Inside, the hallways buzzed with students greeting friends after summer break, lockers slamming, and teachers directing lost freshmen. Dion and Andre received their schedules and separated with a nod, each heading to their first classes. The initial hours passed in a blur of new faces, classroom rules, and the standard first-day introductions. By lunchtime, Dion had already noticed the subtle divisions in the cafeteria, which tables belonged to which groups, the invisible boundaries that existed in all schools. He found a spot at a half-empty table and opened his lunch. "That seat's taken," said a voice above him. Dion looked up to see a group of boys standing around his table. The one who had spoken wore a Letterman jacket. Despite the warm September day, "Doesn't look taken to me," Dion replied calmly, continuing to unwrap his sandwich. The boy's eyes narrowed. "New kid, huh? Maybe you don't understand how things work here." Before things could escalate, a teacher walked by, and the group drifted, away with meaningful glances that clearly said, "This isn't over." Meanwhile, Andre was experiencing his own version of the same story. In history class, he answered a question about the Civil War that impressed the teacher, but earned him cold stares from certain classmates. As he left the classroom, someone bumped his shoulder hard enough to send his books flying. "Watch where you're going," muttered the boy who'd hit him, making no move to help pick up the scattered papers. At the end of the day, the brothers met outside. Without saying much, their expressions communicated everything. They'd both sensed the undercurrent of hostility directed their way. "How was your day?" Andre asked as they started walking home. "Interesting," Dion replied carefully. "Made a few friends. Also some not friends." Andre nodded. "Same." They walked in silence for a while, both thinking about what lay ahead. Neither mentioned the incidents yet. They were still assessing, watching, learning the landscape of their new reality. Years of martial arts training had taught them patience and observation before action. What they didn't know was that the coming days would test not just their fighting skills, but everything their father had taught them about restraint, dignity, and choosing the right moment to stand their ground. The first week at the new school unfolded slowly for Dion and Andre. Each morning, they walked together until reaching the main entrance, then separated with a subtle nod that carried the weight of brotherly understanding. Dion found himself drawn to the track field during lunch breaks. Running had always cleared his head, and the oval track with its springy surface called to him. On Wednesday, he changed into gym clothes and began jogging laps, gradually increasing his pace until his legs burned pleasantly. "You're pretty fast," said a voice as he rounded the final turn. A tall boy with curly hair stood near the finish line, stopwatch in hand. "Coach Wilson would love to have you on the team." That afternoon, Dion stayed after school to meet the EO track coach, who timed him on several sprints and immediately offered him a spot on the team. "With some training, you could be our anchor for the 4x100 relay," Coach Wilson said, clearly impressed. Meanwhile, Andre had discovered the debate club posting on the bulletin board and decided to attend their Thursday meeting. When he walked into the classroom where they gathered, conversations momentarily paused as heads turned toward him. "Are you looking for something?" asked a girl with glasses, her tone more curious than unwelcoming. "The debate team," Andre replied, holding up the flyer. The faculty advisor, Mr. Powell, welcomed him warmly and explained they were preparing for an upcoming competition on environmental policy. Andre listened carefully, then raised several points about economic impacts that impressed even the senior team members. "That was really smart," said the girl with glasses as they packed up after the meeting. "I'm Lily, by the way." For a moment it seemed the brothers might easily find their places in this new school. But beneath the surface, tensions were brewing. During lunch on Friday, Dion sat with two other track team members. Across the cafeteria, he noticed Andre at a table with Lily and another debate club member. Then he saw a group of boys approach his brother's table. Even from a distance, Dion recognized their leader, the same boy who had confronted him on the first day. He watched as they said something to Andre, who kept his expression neutral despite the obvious hostility. When one of them accidentally spilled water on Andre's notes, Dion half rose from his seat, but his brother caught his eye with a slight shake of his head. Later, walking home together, Andre finally spoke about the incident. "They keep saying stuff," he said quietly. "Nothing too direct when teachers are around, but they want us to know we're not welcome here." Dion sighed. "Same guys messed with me in the locker room after practice. Their leader's name is Ryan. Apparently his family's lived here for generations. Or something. What did Dad always say? Choose your battles?" Andre kicked a stone down the sidewalk. "Yeah, but he also said some battles choose you." That night at dinner, their parents sensed something was wrong. Their mother asked about their week, and while both brothers mentioned the positives, track team, debate club, they avoided mentioning the growing problem. Their father studied them thoughtfully. "You know," he said, setting down his fork, "when I first joined my unit in the Army, there were guys who didn't think I belonged there either." The brothers exchanged quick glances. "How'd you handle it?" Andre asked. "With dignity, excellence, and when necessary by standing my ground." He looked at each of them in turn. "But I never threw the first punch. Remember what you've learned? All these years, true strength isn't about fighting, it's about knowing when you have to." The weekend passed peacefully as they settled into their new home. Dion helped his father build shelves in the garage while Andre and their mother planted flowers in the front yard. Sunday evening, they practiced taekwondo forms together in the backyard, moving through the familiar patterns that had become second nature after years of training. "Your forms are getting sloppy," their father teased, though his eyes showed pride. "Keep practicing. Discipline matters most when nobody's watching." Monday morning arrived with heavy clouds threatening rain. As the brothers approached school, they spotted Ryan and his friends waiting near the bike racks. The group fell silent when they saw Dion and Andre, then broke into exaggerated whispers and laughter. "Just ignore them," Andre muttered. Dion nodded, but both brothers knew this uneasy peace couldn't last forever. Something would have to give. They just didn't know how soon that moment would come. Retry. The third week at school brought dark clouds both in the sky and in the brothers' lives. The small incidents had begun to pile up, becoming impossible to ignore. For Dion, the situation grew worse after he outperformed several seniors during track practice, breaking the school record for the 200-meter dash. "Just beginner's luck," Coach Wilson had said proudly, clapping him on the back. But Ryan and his friends didn't see it that way. They cornered Dion in the locker room after everyone else had left. "Think you're special, don't you?" Ryan said, blocking the exit. His two friends stood behind him, arms crossed. "Nobody likes a show-off." Dion kept his face calm, though his heart raced. "I'm just trying to do my best for the team." "Your best?" Ryan stepped closer. "Your best would be going back where you came from." The words hung in the air, their meaning unmistakable. Dion felt heat rise in his chest, but remembered his father's words. He took a deep breath and spoke evenly. "I need to get home. My parents are expecting me." Ryan laughed. "Hiding behind Mommy and Daddy?" Dion didn't answer. He simply stepped sideways and walked past, careful not to make physical contact. As he pushed open the door, one of Ryan's friends called after him, "This isn't over." At home that evening, Dion was quiet during dinner. When their mother asked about practice, he mentioned the new record but left out what happened afterward. Under the table, Andre kicked his foot gently, a silent question. Dion shook his head slightly. Not now. Later, as they worked on homework in their shared bedroom, Andre finally asked what was wrong. "Nothing I can't handle," Dion replied, not looking up from his textbook. "Those guys again?" Dion nodded. "How? About you? They still bothering you too?" Andre sighed. "Lily told me they've always been like this. Their families own half the businesses in town. They think they own the school too." The next day, things escalated for Andre. During lunch, he sat with Lily and two other debate team members discussing their upcoming competition. He reached for his water bottle and found it missing. "Looking for this?" Andre turned to see one of Ryan's friends holding his water bottle. Before he could respond, the boy unscrewed the cap and poured the water directly onto Andre's open backpack, soaking his books and papers. The cafeteria grew quiet as students noticed what was happening. Lily gasped. Andre sat frozen for a moment, watching water drip from his history essay onto his shoes. "Oops," the boy said with fake concern. "Guess you should be more careful where you leave your stuff." Andre stood slowly. Years of training had taught him to control his breathing when anger threatened to overtake him. He looked directly into the boy's eyes without speaking. "What are you going to do about it?" the boy challenged, clearly expecting either a fight or retreat. Andre did neither. He simply took out his phone and snapped a photo of the boy holding the empty bottle, then began calmly collecting his wet belongings. "You can keep the bottle," he said quietly. "I've got proof of who owes me new books." The boy's smirk faltered. This wasn't the reaction he'd expected. That afternoon, when Dion finished track practice, he found Andre waiting by the field instead of walking home alone as usual. "What happened?" Dion asked immediately, noticing Andre's damp backpack. As they walked home together, Andre explained the incident. "I showed the photo to Mr. Powell. He said he'd talk to the principal, but..." He shrugged. "Nothing will probably happen. Their parents donate too much money to the school." They walked in silence for a while before Dion spoke. "We should tell Mom and Dad." "And say what? That some guys don't like us? That's not exactly news." "This is different," Dion insisted. "It's getting worse." They were so absorbed in conversation they didn't notice the car slowing beside them until someone called out Ryan's name. They turned to see Ryan in the passenger seat of a black SUV, his older cousin driving. "See you tomorrow," Ryan called out, his voice carrying a clear threat. The brothers watched the car drive away, both thinking the same thing. Tomorrow would bring trouble. They had avoided confrontation so far, but their options were running out. Something had to change. The morning brought heavy rain, matching the brothers' mood as they walked to school. Neither had mentioned the SUV incident to their parents, though both had slept poorly, troubled by what might lie ahead. "We should stick together today," Dion said as they neared the school entrance. Andre nodded. "I was thinking the same thing." They'd never been the type to look for trouble, but years of martial arts training had taught them to recognize when trouble was coming. Their father's voice echoed in their minds. "Awareness is your first line of defense." The morning passed with unusual quiet. Ryan and his friends were nowhere to be seen, which only increased the brothers' unease. During third period, Dayon received a text from Andre. "They're watching me. Be careful." At lunch, Dion skipped the cafeteria and found Andre in the library. "What happened?" he asked in a hushed voice. "Two of Ryan's friends followed me between classes. They didn't do anything, just watched. Something's up." Dion frowned. "Maybe we should talk to someone." "Who? The principal?" "You know that won't help." They spent the rest of lunch planning alternate routes home, agreeing to meet by the science labs after final period, the furthest exit from where Ryan usually hung out. The rain had stopped by afternoon, leaving the air humid and heavy. As planned, the brothers met and took the long way around the school grounds. They cut through a small wooded area that bordered the eastern edge of campus, thinking it would provide cover. They were wrong. Halfway through the woods, they heard voices ahead, and behind them. "Thought you could avoid us?" Ryan stepped into view, blocking the path ahead. His cousin and 4 other boys emerged from behind trees surrounding them. "Going somewhere?" Dion and Andre instinctively moved back to back, a defensive stance they'd practiced countless times in the dojo. "We don't want any trouble," Dion said calmly. Ryan laughed. "Should have thought about that before you came to our school." One of the boys, a stocky kid with a blue jacket, stepped forward. "You think you're so smart in debate club," he said to Andre. "Always showing off." Another boy pointed at Dion. "And you, breaking records your first week. Who do you think you are?" The circle tightened around them. Dayon felt Andre's back against his, tense but steady. "Last chance," Ryan said. "Either you learn your place or we teach you." "Our place?" Andre's voice was quiet but clear. "We belong here just as much as you do." That was enough for Ryan. He nodded to the others, and they moved in. The first boy lunged at Andre, aiming a wild punch at his face. In one fluid motion, Andre sidestepped, letting the attacker's momentum carry him forward into empty air. The boy stumbled, confused by hitting nothing. Simultaneously, 2 others charged at Dion. He dropped into a fighting stance, blocking the first punch and using the attacker's arm as leverage to pull him off balance. The second attacker hesitated, surprised by the practiced movement. "They know how to fight," someone muttered. Ryan's face darkened. "So what? There's 6 of us and 2 of them." What followed wasn't a brawl, but a display of precise technique against chaotic aggression. Each time one of Ryan's group attacked, the brothers countered with controlled defensive moves. Blocks, redirections, and strategic retreats that left their attackers frustrated and increasingly desperate. When the stocky boy grabbed Andre from behind, Andre executed a perfect throw using the boy's weight against him. The boy landed hard on his back, the wind knocked out of him. "What the?" Ryan stared in disbelief. Dion faced him squarely. "We don't want to hurt anyone. Let's end this now." Ryan's cousin, the oldest of the group, pulled out a pocket knife. "Nobody makes us look stupid," he growled, advancing on Dion. Time seemed to slow. The brothers exchanged a glance, silently agreeing that restraint had reached its limit. When the cousin slashed wildly with the knife, Dion caught his wrist and applied pressure to a specific point, causing his fingers to open involuntarily. The knife fell to the ground. In the next moment, both brothers moved with the full speed and power of their training. 2 swift kicks sent Ryan and another boy sprawling backward. A series of precise strikes left the remaining attackers on the ground, stunned but not seriously hurt. The entire confrontation had lasted less than a minute. Ryan stared up at them from the ground, his expression a mixture of shock, fear, and confusion. "Who are you guys?" he asked, all bravado gone from his voice. Andre looked at him calmly. "Just 2 brothers who wanted to be left alone." Silence filled the small clearing in the woods. The 6 boys who had surrounded the brothers moments before now lay scattered on the ground, some groaning, others too shocked to make a sound. None were seriously hurt. The brothers had used just enough force to neutralize the threat. "Get up," Dion said to Ryan, who still stared up at them in disbelief. "We should all head back before someone comes looking." Ryan's cousin reached for the knife that had fallen in the dirt, but Andre stepped forward and placed his foot firmly over it. "That's not a good idea," he said quietly. The older boy hesitated, then backed away, helping Ryan to his feet instead. The other boys slowly pulled themselves up, wincing and checking for injuries. "Where'd you learn to fight like that?" asked one boy, a tall kid with sandy hair who seemed more impressed than angry. Dion kept his eyes on Ryan's cousin, not trusting him to stay calm. "We've been training since we were kids." "What, like karate or something?" another boy asked. "Taekwondo," Andre corrected. "Our dad thought it was important." A twig snapped nearby and everyone froze. A girl stepped into view, phone in hand, her expression a mixture of concern and determination. It was Lily from Debate Club. "I've been recording," she announced, holding up her phone. "From when they first surrounded you." Ryan's face drained of color. "You didn't—" "I did," Lily cut him off. "I followed when I saw all of you heading into the woods. I was going to get a teacher, but then I thought evidence might be more useful." Andre looked at her with new respect. "Smart thinking." Lily turned to Ryan and his friends. "You should know this video shows who started it. It also shows neither of these guys threw the first punch. They defended themselves after being threatened with a knife." The reality of the situation seemed to dawn on Ryan's group all at once. Not only had they been thoroughly defeated, but now there was video evidence of their actions. "Delete it," Ryan's cousin demanded, taking a step toward Lily. "I already texted it to 5 people," she replied calmly, "and told them to send it to the principal if they don't hear from me in 10 minutes. For a moment, tension hung heavy in the air. Then the sandy-haired boy tugged at Ryan's sleeve. "Let's just go, man. This isn't worth getting expelled over." Ryan looked from the brothers to Lily, then back to his friends. His usual confidence had vanished. With a defeated nod, he turned and began walking away. The others followed, helping those who were limping. "This isn't over," Ryan's cousin muttered as he passed Dion. "Actually, it is," Dion replied firmly. "Next time won't be just a video." When they were gone, Lily rushed over. "Are you guys okay? That was amazing. Where did you learn those moves?" Andre picked up the knife and carefully folded it closed. "We should take this to the principal." "Along with the video," Dion added. As they walked back toward the school, Lily explained how she'd noticed Ryan's group following the brothers all day. "They've been planning this since yesterday. Everyone knew something was going to happen." "But you were the only one who tried to help," Andre said. Lily shrugged. "People are scared of them. Their families have a lot of influence in this town." The principal's office was still open when they arrived. Mr. Thompson, a balding man with tired eyes, listened to their story with increasing concern. When Lily showed him the video, his expression hardened. "I've had complaints about Ryan's group before," he admitted, "but never with evidence like this, and certainly never involving weapons." He looked at the pocket knife on his desk with disgust. "What happens now?" Dion asked. "Now I call your parents and theirs," Mr. Thompson said. "There will be serious consequences. Bringing a weapon to school is grounds for immediate expulsion." As they waited for their parents to arrive, the brothers sat quietly in the outer office. Neither had wanted this outcome, despite the relief of having the bullying exposed. "Dad's going to be proud of how we handled it," Andre said after a while. Dion nodded. "We only fought when we had no choice. And we didn't hurt them more than necessary." A small smile crossed Dion's face. "Remember what he always says? The true victory isn't in defeating your enemy." The brother's father arrived at the principal's office with a calm but concerned expression. He wore his work clothes, a button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up and a tie loosened at the neck. Their mother had stayed at the hospital where she couldn't leave her shift. When Mr. Thompson explained what had happened, showing him the video Lily had recorded, their father's face remained composed, though his jaw tightened at the sight of the knife. "I'm proud of how you handled yourselves," he said quietly to his sons. "You showed restraint until it was no longer an option." The principal seemed surprised by this reaction. "You're not upset that they fought?" "I'd be upset if they hadn't defended themselves," their father replied. "I've always taught them that violence is the last resort, but when threatened with a weapon," he shook his head, "they did exactly what they were trained to do." The meeting continued as parents of the other boys began arriving. Ryan's mother came first, a well-dressed woman who seemed more concerned with appearances than her son's actions. She argued that there must have been provocation until Lily played the video again. "The video doesn't show what happened before," she insisted. "It shows enough," the principal countered. "Your son and his friends surrounded these two students. One of them pulled a knife. Those are the facts." More parents arrived, each reacting differently to the evidence. Some were visibly ashamed, apologizing to the brothers and their father. Others, like Ryan's cousin's father, argued loudly that boys will be boys, and that expulsion was an overreaction. "My nephew is on the honor roll," he declared, as if good grades excused violence. Through it all, the brothers and their father remained calm, speaking only when spoken to, refusing to be drawn into heated exchanges. As the meeting concluded, Mr. Thompson announced his decision. Ryan and his cousin would be suspended pending a hearing about possible expulsion, due to the weapon and their leadership roles in the incident. The others received shorter suspensions. "Additionally," he added, looking around the room, "I'm implementing a new anti-bullying program immediately. This has been a problem for too long." Outside the office, as families dispersed, Ryan approached the brothers hesitantly. His mother stood nearby, her hand on his shoulder in what seemed more like restraint than comfort. "I'm supposed to apologize," Ryan said stiffly. The brothers exchanged glances. Their father stepped forward. "An apology means nothing unless you understand what you're apologizing for," he said evenly. "Do you?" Ryan looked confused, then angry, then, surprisingly, thoughtful. "I guess, for starting a fight we couldn't win." The brother's father shook his head. "For starting a fight at all. For targeting my sons because they're different from you." Ryan's mother bristled. "Now wait a minute. Mom, it's true," Ryan interrupted, surprising everyone. "That is why we did it." He looked at the brothers with genuine curiosity. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" "Black belt taekwondo," their father answered. "They've trained since they were 5. Could..." Ryan hesitated. "Could you teach me some of that?" His mother looked scandalized. "Ryan." "What?" "I got my butt kicked. I want to know how they did it." An unexpected laugh escaped Andre. "Maybe start with why we did it. We didn't want to fight at all. Self-defense is about protection, not aggression," their father added. "If you're genuinely interested in learning, there's a dojang downtown. I know the master there." Ryan nodded slowly. As they walked to the car, Dion felt oddly lighter despite the day's events. "Think he meant it about wanting to learn?" Their father considered this. "Sometimes people need to be humbled before they can grow. We'll see." The following days at school were strange. The absence of Ryan and his friends created a new atmosphere. Students who had previously avoided the brothers now approached them, sometimes to talk about the fight, other times just to say hello. Lily joined them for lunch, bringing friends who seemed eager to meet the brothers who stood up to Ryan. The story had spread throughout the school, growing with each retelling, until it seemed like they had fought off a small army. People needed to see that standing up to them was possible, Lily explained. Dion nodded. "I just hope it leads to real change, not just a new set of people throwing their weight around." Their father's words echoed in his mind. The goal isn't to create new bullies. It's to end bullying altogether. It's in making peace with them afterward. Andre finished. They both knew that part would be more difficult than the fight had been. But as their father's car pulled into the school parking lot, they felt ready to face whatever came next.